You are listening to episode 41 of the Peaceful Mind Podcast. Welcome to the Peaceful Mind Podcast, a place for creating the peace of mind you need to be the best mom you are created by God to be. If you want to bring more balance, more joy, and more peace to your motherhood, this is the place for you. I'm your host, certified life coach and Catholic mom, Danielle Thienel. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, let's get started. Hello, all you podcast listeners out there. If you're anything like me, you have a whole big fun list of all the podcasts you want to listen to and don't know which one to begin with. There's just a great variety right now, right, of topics for every interest out there. I know I've heard from many of you that you are following along with the Bible in a Day podcast with Father Mike. I am too. I'm a little behind, but I love it so much. And because there is so much to choose from, I just want to remind you of how thankful I am that you have chosen to listen to this one. And I hope you know and can feel it coming through that I don't take for granted that you have a plethora of choices on which ones to listen to. So I always aim to really make it worth it for you and try to be as impactful as I can in staying between a 15 to 30 minute window. But I'm not sure, I never am sure how long one will take. And because I never really know until I'm done, but today's topic is so vital and so important, hence the name, The Importance of Emotional Wellness, that I can assure you that this podcast could easily become the go-to episode of the Peaceful Mind Podcast, because as we've all just gone through, and are still living through, a time in our lives that has tested our mental and emotional health. And by that, I am pointing out a global pandemic, right? The coronavirus pandemic, where our emotions have been on a roller coaster ride and tested and magnified and stretched in many directions. So even as this podcast comes out to you in May, yes, I think it's going to be out in May. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And here's what I know. Your mental health, which is all of the thoughts that are going on in your brain and whether they are healthy or unhealthy ones, is directly connected to your emotional health, because it's those thoughts that create your feelings. So I want to focus today on the extreme importance it is that as mothers who have tremendous influence on our families and the world, that we make sure we are making how we feel be of the utmost priority. Right now, I want you to think to yourself, what do you believe emotional wellness means? Do you think of it as feeling happy most of the time? Do you think of it as being free from feeling bad or from extreme feelings like depression and anxiety? Or maybe you think it just means the opposite of emotionally sick. And if you're someone who just doesn't complain all the time or has a mostly positive nature. When I Google for a definition, it says emotional wellness is the ability to successfully handle life's stresses and adapt to change and difficult times. Let me just kind of read that again. Emotional wellness is the ability to successfully handle life's stresses and adapt to change and difficult times. Now, there's wiggle room in the definition in, quote, successfully handling, and also wiggle room in the definition of stress. We all can define those a little differently depending on our own lives. But my favorite part of the definition that I just read you is the part where it says, quote, adapt to change and adapt to difficult times. It's my favorite because this, I know, is the secret sauce to living a life of emotional wellness. And that is, you want to learn how to be a person who knows what is the true cause of one's emotions. And that true cause is always a thought you are thinking. A thought is what always creates every emotion you ever feel. And when you truly learn and know this, you will then always know your power to control your emotional wellness at any time, no matter what. You'll feel any emotion at any time about anything that comes your way, no matter what is happening or has happened or will happen in your life. And so if you hold your emotional wellness as a priority, as a treasure of importance, you will change how you experience your life and create a trajectory of your future that is life-giving and life-serving for you and your family. The importance is also because of this truth. This earth experience of ours will never be free of trouble or struggle or challenges. Because let's recall what happened in the Garden of Eden. Yes, so there was the fall. There was that which started it all, where things wouldn't be wonderful all the time from then on. And then there are many things that are outside of our control. We can't prevent from happening, like hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods. How about when a boss walks in and says, "You're fired"? I mean, didn't see that coming. Or the house you just bought turns out to have termites, even though there was a termite inspection. Or perhaps there's a grave health diagnosis from a doctor that comes to you or one of your loved ones. As we know, our lives won't ever be totally bliss all the time. Because, yes, Jesus himself said in John 16:33, "In this world you will have trouble." So because of this, I have to get the message out to you moms in as many different ways as I can, which I do it through posts that I make on social media, emails that I send to offer you value through your inbox, free guides that I create, podcast episodes, and especially when I'm personally coaching with you in the one-on-one setting. That how you feel is so, so important. That your emotional health is of the utmost importance, because how you feel drives every single action you ever take. And how you feel also drives whether you take any action at all. And when I say actions, I mean how you show up in your life, what you are doing in your life and what you're not doing in your mom life, how you're showing up as a wife, the action you're taking at work, all of it. When you're not emotionally healthy, you can't be your best self, and you can't go about creating and accomplishing what it is that you want. At some point in our society, there was the notion that self-care and putting yourself first, which could mean moms putting themselves before their families, was selfish. And what I have come to know and understand and put into practice in my own life to create such joy and balance and peace is that filling one's tank, doing things that make you light up, taking care of yourself in whatever ways you personally like and enjoy, whether it's reading a book, getting your nails done, going for a walk, journaling, talking on the phone with a friend, going to adoration for an hour, going away by yourself to a hotel overnight, whatever you do that makes you feel better, that all of it, it's actually selfless. And for this reason, because you will feel better when you take care of yourself, and when you feel better, mama, you'll act and show up for your life better. And then what happens is that you become that example for your kids and an example for the world, what really taking control of your emotional life looks like. Because when you don't feel good, your brain more easily grabs on to the negative thoughts, and you find yourself stressed and exhausted, which, we know that stress damages both your emotional wellness and your physical wellness. And if you don't take the time to care for your emotional and physical wellness because you're thinking and acting in a way that has you pulled in a million directions, it's then not as easy to be positive or make positive choices, and you're more apt to make mistakes. And then if you're not emotionally strong about it all, you'll turn to self-loathing or feel shame. And then you really won't take action to accept support from outside help or others. And before you know it, you are deeper in the depths of feeling terrible. So, what are some things I can tell you right now that will help you to see the importance of your emotional wellness and just as needing it to take a more important role in your life? Here are just a few key concepts I want to share. And you may want to press pause and go and get pen and paper to write some of these down. It's that important. Or, an option is always to go to the show notes and download a transcript of the episode so you can just listen and absorb it for now. These are just a couple general things I want to get to you that will help you in your emotional wellness journey. I think I could take each of these points and I'll say and make them individual podcast episodes because there's so much goodness to know and learn with each of them. There's way more to dig into than what I'll say today. But in fact, let me just mention that when you work with me one-on-one, you get all of these concepts and tools personally applied to your life and your specific life circumstances. So join me on a free call to learn more on how to work with me one-on-one. Okay, so this is what I want you to know. The goal of this life of ours is not to be happy all the time. The goal of this life of ours is not to be happy all the time. What? Yeah, it's not true that you should aim to feel happy all the time. The truth is that to lead a full, robust life and have a full human experience of it all, the full earthly experience, you actually want to feel all kinds of emotions. Here's one example from my life. When I went to Costa Rica a few years ago and went ziplining with my family, that whole experience had me weary, apprehensive, excited, exhilarating. I was scared. It was adventurous. I felt elated and proud when I finished. While I was on it, I felt vulnerable. I was feeling accomplished. Do you see how in just that one experience that I had in this life that it was full, but it's still what we call a 50-50 experience of life. There was 50% positive when I felt excited, exhilarated, adventurous, elated, proud, accomplished. And then there was the 50% negative of the experience. It was super uncomfortable. I had to feel apprehensive and scared and vulnerable. And I would even add daunted and exhausted too. I remember back on that day. Yeah, so when you do something new, you're going to have fear and doubt and put yourself in a situation where you might feel embarrassed or nervous. But even though those are negative emotions, it's still emotional wellness because when you feel those things, it does have you getting to the other side, which is this success and serving and feeling contributing and capable in the ways you know what it's like to feel the opposite. Feeling one way is what gives you awareness on what you want to move towards. So, for example, if you found out that a relative passed away, before you found out you were maybe enjoying happiness. And then as soon as you heard the news, you become sad. And you want to go to that service or funeral and feel sad. It's part of the human experience. So when we get to drop that we're supposed to be happy all the time and know that we are always the creator of our feelings at any time because of our thoughts, then when life presents a situation or circumstance, like I just mentioned with a family member passing away, we get to take charge of our emotional wellness by choosing how we want to feel about it all. And knowing that the goal is not just to be happy all the time, that we are human, a human that is experiencing all the emotions, and that is good. The next point I mentioned a little earlier, but I'm going to drive it home again, is that prioritizing yourself and how you feel is not selfish, and that to access the deep belief that you are a good mom, a great person, a worthy child of God, you've got to take care of yourself. And sometimes that means taking care of yourself before doing anything else. And don't you know that all you really want, which is to feel love and give love and your life and the people in it, and enjoy all that you've created with your home and your family and in your vocation, whether it's being a mom and working outside the home and making the most of your talents and skills and growing and succeeding, whatever it is, to get to your dreams and the dreams of your family, you can't do it if you're emotionally drained or emotionally unhealthy, because you won't be able to show up and be that person that you want to be. And the last point I want to share with you today is that the number one thing to be really high on the scale of emotional wellness is you must take responsibility for it all, for the pain you are feeling and for the joy you are feeling. If you find yourself feeling anxious most of the time, or overwhelmed or guilty or hurt, blaming it on things outside of you won't be beneficial. And only you are ever responsible for how you feel, because it is the thought you are choosing to think that causes that feeling. But here's the good news. The joy and peace that you feel is also not caused by any outside circumstance. You also feel that joy and peace by a thought you choose to think about that circumstance. So really, in a nutshell, all of this, your emotional wellness, is totally in your hands. You get to create the level of wellness you desire at any time. And that is a brief introduction to really what my main focus is, to help every mom I can, which is seeing and applying your own personal power to have the highest level of mental and emotional health in your life, so you can love your life and live it in a way that serves you and the whole world. That is what I have for you today. And please, if you know someone as you are listening to this that you feel could really use these words as well today, then please share it. The difference you could be making in one person's life from one small gesture can end up being tremendous. And as always, I tremendously am grateful for all of you. I love you, and I will talk to you again next week. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Peaceful Mind Podcast. Are you ready to take everything I teach you here and put it to work for your own life? To really learn how to have peace of mind no matter what is happening around you? If so, I'd love to have you as a client. As your coach, this is where you'll get personal and focused time on your own mind using life coaching tools, concepts, and proven life-transforming wisdom, all through a faith-filled lens. To learn more about how we can work together, come on over to DanielleThienel.com. There, you'll see how to sign up for a free coaching consult and learn how to get started. Until next time, peace be with you always.